It's okay.
Office hours days are just a cluster for me, so I've been discombobulated all day. All right, welcome everybody. It's June 17th. This is the Kubernetes SIG Contributor Experience weekly meeting. I am Jorge Castro. I'm one of your co-chairs and host, and Bob will be the note taker. Real quick, let's do some introductions. I know Jenny's new, and then everybody else, let's take 2 minutes to tell Jenny who we are so we could just introduce ourselves. So you want to go first or last? Your choice.
I can go first then.
All right.
Okay, hi, I'm Jenny. I work together with Lauri, and she was really making that really nice. It's my first dip into open source, so please excuse all the newbie failures I will do. I'm head of engineering for 1.5 years now, so I'm not really looking into contributing code-wise, but contributing with coaching or with helping organizing. And I hope to learn also more about different leadership styles. And yeah, I'm an introvert, so at the moment I'm more reading and observing, and I hope I can get an opportunity to work with you.
Awesome, welcome. Definitely love to have that skill set.
Thank you.
Who's next? Bob, and then whoever introduces, just pick the next person to, yeah.
Okay. I'm Bob Killen, one of the other co-chairs with George. I'm Mr. Bobby Tables across everything. I technically work for the University of Michigan, but I spend a lot of my time here just helping contributor experience with a whole wide variety of things. And I will kick it off to Marky since he is directly left of me on my screen.
Hello, Jenny. My name is Marky. I am one of the contributor experience peeps. I also do release stuff, and I am the newly found director of open source at OpsumX, and I work in other communities as well. Welcome. If you ever have any questions, if you don't feel comfortable asking, you're more than welcome to ping me. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it. But welcome. And I will go to who is next to me, which is George.
Jorge Castro. I work at VMware as one of the community managers, and that's it. I'm just coming off a holiday, and daycare just started for my kids, so I've been working half-time for a long time. So I'm kind of getting back. I'm very disorganized right now. I'll just go with that. Yeah, so I'm getting back into the saddle here. Paris, why don't you go next?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey. I do community stuff for Kubernetes and CNCF. I also sit on the steering committee. So nice seeing you here.
Thanks.
You have the pick. Who's next?
Dawn then.
Woo.
So I'm Dawn Foster. Like George, I also work at VMware. I do open source community strategy within our open source program office. I was doing Kubernetes strategy when I worked at Pivotal before we got acquired. So I actually don't do a lot of Kubernetes stuff right now, but y'all are so much fun, and I really liked being in the contributor experience SIG, so I just still come and lurk and hang out, and if I can help out in any way, I will. That's kind of what I do. I've been doing the open source thing for a really long time.
Cool.
You pick the next person.
Josh on his bicycle goes next.
Yep. On the bike, figuring that I can use self-isolation to do something about my Pillsbury Doughboy physique. I work at Red Hat on, cloud native community things. So Kubernetes, Prometheus, etcd, a whole bunch of other projects. And I've done various things for contributor experience. Right now, I'm working on the new contributor workshop with Allison, who is not here because she lives in New Zealand, and it's like 3 in the morning where she is.
Cool.
And that leaves Ihor.
Oh, yeah. I'm a developer advocate at CNCF, and I'm doing a lot of community scenes here.
All right. Okay, so here's the agenda. I'll go ahead and paste it again in chat. So let's just get started and be efficient. Quick office hours. So today's office hours, these happen the third Wednesday of every month. Had a record session this morning, 188 uniques participating. So that's like really good. Unfortunately, due to some panelist cancellations for the West Coast and Jeff and my schedules not being able to back each other up, we had to cancel the West Coast session. But overall, the traffic continues to get better, and I'm pretty happy with what we're doing there. Challenges moving up is representation on our panels is still not awesome, and it's something that we need help on, and I'm actively working on. Any questions for office hours? You are muted, Josh, if you're asking a question. You are still muted. In Zoom, you're muted, not your PC. If that helps.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
For the West Coast edition, have we considered moving it even later to a more APAC-friendly time?
So initially we did, and that's when the traffic really started to drop, but I would be willing to try again. Like, I'll try anything. Yeah.
If I can get OBS working, see the thread for that discussion.
Okay. All right.
I'd be willing to try hosting an APAC-friendly one, right? Because for me, that's 4 in the afternoon. It's not really painful.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Oh, and the last bit, we are going to do a special edition with SIG Network on Ingress that we were going to do, but with what was going on in the world, we felt we canceled it. Yeah. So I don't know, next week, I'll sync with the chairs and sort that out.
Okay.
Anything else on office hours? I'm seeing nodding generally. Paris community meeting. You have one in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm submitting a PR for steering for siggovernance.md, which will hopefully reduce the requirement from 4 sessions a year that you have to give updates from a community group perspective to 2, plus the annual report, which we just introduced. Right now, we don't have any groups really that meet the requirements. So we just have policy laying out there that nobody meets, which isn't good. So I'm going to submit a PR for that. That could essentially affect how the meeting is laid out, probably in a positive way, because it will be less things to jam in. But that's it there.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. In hindsight, I don't know 4 times a year. I don't know what I was thinking with like 46. But thanks for that. And tomorrow the host is going to be Lauri, and she's giving us some hosts. So we're actually set for hosts until October, so that's really good. Any questions on community meeting? That's just tomorrow, normal time. I feel like the monthly cadence has been good. Attendance has been good, so no problems there as far as I can tell. Contributor summits, Bob.
No updates on the contributor summit at the moment.
Sweet. Steering committee election, Bob.
We currently have 2 confirmed election officers, Jace and Josh. Ihor, I poked him literally just before the meeting start, is a if needed, or shrug.
Well, it was not shrug. It was like, I'm happy to do it, but if there are any other candidates who have never been the election officers and they would like to be, so happy to step down and take my place, please.
Yeah.
However, Bob, you wouldn't be an election officer, right? You're not on this list?
I am not at the moment.
Right.
I'm waiting for like the next 2 weeks to play out.
Okay. Because
I should have a better idea of how my schedule should be lining up for the later half of this year.
The reason I bring that up is neither Josh nor Jace have done an election, but you've done 2, right, Ihor? So I think, just kind of do like do the release thing where you're just kind of like hanging in. I think we've documented it enough where it's fine. And I see Josh nodding. I don't think this will be a problem.
Actually, as far as I remember, we have even agreed that at least two individuals have to be election officers from the past. If I can find that link immediately, I'll share it here. But anyway,
Yeah,
we
that's
have.
what I looked over the docs when George brought it up this time, and that's what it says.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So right now we have 0 confirmed, so I'm confirming myself.
Okay.
Okay. And then Bob and I will decide.
Mm-hmm.
We need 2. Then Bob and I will decide.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone ask Brian Grant if he wanted to come back? Just curious.
Not yet.
Okay. I was just curious. All right. Anything other election-based things like that? Is there a next step here? Is the election in steering score, or do we have to do something?
We need to propose the
step one?
election officers.
Thank you. Okay.
It's on us.
Okay. Do we have a deadline for that?
I don't know an official deadline.
July 1.
Okay. So end of the month.
Okay.
Yep.
Got you. All right. Sorry, I'm just taking a personal item to check on that. Okay, good. All right. That should run smooth. I think starting early was a good idea. Paris, any comments here? All right. Moving on to mentoring with Paris. Ding.
Hey, y'all. No real major updates for Meet Our Contributors. I'm still lagging on creating that APAC second edition. But for next month, for July, I think I have 2 folks already confirmed. I just need to double back with them from our reschedule from June. But I would also love to see some folks from SIG testing, SIG scalers, SIG auth, just going back to see when some of those folks have come on last, and haven't seen any of those folks in a minute. So I'm going to reach out to that crew. But if anybody here is on the line and a part of those 3 groups and would like to volunteer to be on the panel, I'd love to have you. And that's it for Meet Our Contributors.
Good to know.
Is Nikita on yet? If not,
I think she's in a meeting right now.
Outreachy, no new updates. GSOC, or do you want to say anything about GSOC? I think it's just in progress.
Right. The same as Community Bridge.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're chugging along on GSOC. I know a couple of students have been pinging me, and they're still excited. So they haven't been scared off yet, which is great. But yeah, that's pretty much it for mentoring right now.
Let's see. Community management. We don't have a person for this, but Bob needs to know chairs TL's email.
Oh, we have several items on the list already, and I checked it this morning. There's a couple others that we should toss on there. The release timeline change, and then Paris, you tossed 2 items on there. One regarding the working group annual report, and then the steering committee group liaisons role.
Yep. So just context, because I know I haven't been here in a few weeks. In steering, we've created this concept of an annual report. It's very similar to what Apache does for their projects and their PMCs report in each year on like the project health. But this is a little bit granular because we're going to be doing it for our community groups. So it'll happen once a year, and they have to report in on certain questions and things that we are asking them. Since this year is kind of not great, we're going to be punting a lot of this to 2021, except for the working group session. And since working groups are sort of supposed to be temporary in nature anyway, and some of them have been hanging out for a while, we're going to do a deep dive first into the working groups, and then also potentially iterate on the annual report process period from what we learned with the working groups. So if any folks here are in working groups, we're coming for you. We want to collaborate and talk and have open lines of communication. And when I say we, I mean steering. And that's pretty much it. So we also introduced the concept of steering committee liaisons. So every community group, which is SIG working group, user group, etc., committees as well, will have a steering committee liaison assigned to them. So if there's any issues or things that you need to bubble up to steering, not that, even accolades, things like that, not, not even necessarily negative. Then everybody will have someone assigned, and then they don't have to come to like the principal's office, aka a public steering committee meeting. But those things need to get out to the chairs and tech leads so we can start to water that information down. But like I said, if anybody in here is a part of a working group, give folks a heads up this is coming, and steering will most likely visit one of their public meetings, so they don't have to come to us, we'll be going to them.
Is there a list breakdown of who's taking ownership of which community group?
Yep, I think Christoph is going to PR that in either today or sometime this week.
Okay.
But yeah, it's done. We just completed the exercise.
So what's the TLDR on the annual report? Is it like a slide deck similar to like the community meeting status, or is it like a blog post, or is it?
Hold up. It's going to be a Word, not a Word doc. I hate saying Word doc. I Google, like some kind of Google Doc, HackMD, whatever the community
text.
Group, some kind of text, exactly. Okay. But then you'll send it to private steering at first, because it gives the community group an opportunity to say private things, like if you're having a major issue, stuff like that. But I'm getting out some of the documentation.
I'm just wondering if like over the course of the year you'll get different SIG and working group annual reports, like to the mailing list kind of thing.
Well, then the idea, everybody's going to do it together, so it's not going to necessarily it's not necessarily going to stagger. It's going to be an actual report. And
annual recap.
Got
you.
You.
And then hold on, don't move.
Do you have a link to the questions already?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting right now.
So sorry to stomp you with all these questions.
If you could go ahead and toss it into the notes. I have a big thing like insert link here.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Here it is.
Nope.
And then if you want to share your screen, you can see it, and all the questions are there. It's right there.
Sweet. I just wanted to see where I could find out more info. Cool. Anything else about annual reports? Anyone? Questions?
I think most of it could get automated, honestly. I've been talking to Lauri about it to see if Lucas could build a specialized dashboard so that SIG chairs and tech leads aren't manually collecting their data. Like for instance, one of the questions is send us a link to your last YouTube community meeting.
Yeah.
And we could just automate that. I mean, we could get YouTube to figure that out. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that can be automated. That I think that's my next step right now, is identifying what those areas are and potentially getting a dashboard built. So then there's not a lot of work or burden rather on the chair or tech lead to get this done. Yeah,
because if you were to ask, when was the last time SIG Food did a status update or something, I'd have to go in the spreadsheet, like manually. You know, like the only way I know SIG Apps has to go next week is because they canceled, and I left myself a future note to myself. So it'd be awesome if we.
And that wouldn't be on ContribEx. That would be on SIG Apps.
Right. Us. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if there's automation where we know it's like, they need help, that would be really awesome. All right. Awesome. Okay.
So
sweet.
I sort of tabled the dev stats work for a bit because I was hunkered down in prioritization session work with the release team, but Paris and you were also between jobs, but I have some notes that I've collected and need to revisit. Just I did a little deep dive, scenic route tour of the dev stats dashboards, and looking for ways to consolidate and ways to make them more effective and more attractive for the SIG chairs and leads to use. So maybe we just, you had actually seen it and you said, oh, thanks. So maybe we should maybe we can look at that together and we find out like what we can do next.
Yeah.
We actually, we haven't really talked too much about, like we haven't had a line item in our agenda for dev stats, but it might be time to actually put that back on there again.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Thanks for sort of, like really leading the charge and taking ownership and running with that.
Yes.
I just like looking at Grafana dashboards. They're really pretty. Magical art.
We need to talk about the consolidation thing, though. because Lucas brought up some problems with consolidating graphs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they were just suggestions. Like, I have no idea what's possible or not. So we could dive, maybe the three of us, you, Paris, and I would take a look at those notes and see, like, okay, what's possible. It could be like a half-hour, 45-minute walkthrough, and we're like, technically, this is too challenging. From a user experience perspective, this is a good idea. We should, like, overcome the friction, the technical friction to actually make it look like this. We could get aligned and then bring him in and he can make the changes.
All right. Anything else before we move on to marketing? All right. Nikita left a note that the no new updates from the APAC coordinator, as that bi-weekly meeting was canceled. Next meeting is tomorrow. Marketing team, there's not a person here, but Paris, I was like,
I put the updates in.
Yeah. Well, it says that you're going emeritus, so this is like your last. This will be your last report, and then we could like do a cake at the end. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm officially going to be emeritus because Matt and the crew is almost up and running. That was my goal here, is to get them up and running. And Matt Broberg is awesome. Matt is going to take the lead of editor role for the marketing team. And I believe Matt might be looking for a shadow, but Matt was also doing some direct recruitment on his own for that. So I'm not too sure where he is, but
gotcha.
The major announcement is we need more help. I mean, we've got a team of at least six that are coming weekly and producing weekly, and we probably need a team of 12, to be totally honest.
Yep.
And I'd love to have more storytellers there. The storytellers are the people that are doing the SIG profiling and the contributor profiling and making it less about a technical blog, but more about us and humans and the pathways to contributorship here. So yeah, if you're interested or if you know other people who are interested in telling stories, like doing kinds of like interviews and stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff, the kind of work we're looking for. There's an issue template now in Kubernetes/community for us to engage with us. You'll see the issue template talk about tweets, talk about events, talk about like pretty much anything that you would contact your marketing department for at your work. These people would do, but remember that their scope is upstream contributors. That is, and the reason why is there's already enough work there that we don't want to blow their scope. So. Right. That's that. And then also please follow Kate's contributors. We plan to launch soon. We've been like in this like noodly launch state for like a week now, but that's just because society and unrest and like wanting to make sure we don't look like jerks. And it's just been kind of taking it day by day, to be quite honest. And we're just wanting to make sure that we don't, start off on a bad foot, because you know how Twitter can get. So, that's it. And a KDev email will be sent soon. And that KDev email is going to talk about how to interact with us, why to interact with us, and everything like that. And then we'll also explain that the release team still has a communication person, so that they still get that. And we'll just explain a couple more things, but that's the marketing update.
So you had mentioned that Kate's contributors hasn't gone live yet. So like what am I telling people at work? If you work at Kubernetes, follow this now, or am I waiting for your email?
Yeah, you can just say follow it now. It's not going live yet. Right. And we're trying to go live, I think today, according to my group message.
Right.
Kind of like no time like the present, in my opinion, at this point. So we're also fumbling around with tooling right now because the API got rejected and approved and rejected or something from Twitter. So right now we're just doing manual, which is really going to suck.
Does it have does it have a confirmed? Oh, it does not. Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. No, we don't have a check mark or anything like that. I doubt we'll even get a check mark, but
it's fine. It's a badge of honor not to have one. Is Matt then the sub-project? Who's the sub-project owner then? If you're Emerid, I'm not looking at the owners.
I'm emeritus out of the team, not the folder.
Okay. All right.
So I'll still be in the folder and still help them out with their approvals, but Matt is going to take the team.
Okay, gotcha.
And Matt is also now in the owner's file as a reviewer.
Perfect.
And I will most likely be promoting him to approver shortly. So we're making our way down the community membership guidelines.
Sweet emeritus life. All right.
Two notes on this. Is there like a tweet that is just already in use that I could retweet with the idea of recruiting more contributors to the marketing team? Like,
no, but we can make one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and then we could just all share
bootstrap
the same
account.
tweet.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the second thing was that I was just coming from the hallway session that Stormy Peters is setting up, and the topic there was diversity and inclusion. And Ava, who I've not met before until that session,
Yes.
but is I think on the Kubernetes. Yeah. So we were talking about what we could do, and I think that this could be a good opportunity to bring D&I language, given that it's like focusing on the human, focusing on different perspectives, different, we're a community of many different people, and that could be worked into the messaging somehow. Like, as we get this marketing team off the ground, like, we're finding stories for the different SIGs, but we can also find stories about maybe like human interest stories, personal profiles, people who might be facing different challenges, but still contributing to Kubernetes. Like, many people are facing different types of challenges right now, regardless of what country they're in. So it could be an angle that we might want to explore in the marketing content and the blog posts, and elevating contributors, like their profile.
Yeah, I feel like also when we launch this and we kind of have like the preset tweets, like, I'm thinking in my brain, we should definitely call out every favor, like every famous person who's ever like tweeted about Kubernetes, like ask them like the one thing, be like, like, I feel like whenever we launch, if all of us tweet on that same day, it'll be like,
oh yeah,
it'll be clear to like everybody, and then we'll line people up.
That actually might be, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
We might want to actually just bring that up directly in the marketing meeting, or put on the agenda for that on Friday.
Yeah.
I just included, sorry.
Oh.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just included in the chat the marketing team's notes. And if you scroll to the end of page 2, and then 3 and 4, this is our launch schedule for Twitter.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So we've got our first tweet. Our first tweet will be like a hello contributors.yaml joke.
Yes, for sure.
And then the next is going to be like meetings. We have so many meetings, and then clicking the calendar link, and we'll do that once a week, every week on Sunday or Monday. So it's like your meeting's ahead of you this week kind of thing. And then we're also going to talk about, obviously, the community meeting when that comes up. And then talk about one tweet will be the SIG scalability blog. The next day, it'll be the blog for the Kate's Infra working group. The next day after that, it'll be Aspiring Contributors Thursday. So post your good first issues here. And then Friday will be Shout Out Fridays. And we'll be looking at the shout outs from the Slack channel and shouting people out on Twitter. So that's kind of the schedule, but obviously things are going to pop up in between there. But it's the idea there for them is that every day they have at least one tweet that's already been curated and scheduled. So
Gotcha.
Like Thursdays will always be Aspiring Contributor Thursdays. Fridays will always be Shout Out Friday.
Right.
Like, it builds the audience expectations for what they're going to expect from the account. And then like Sunday and Monday, again, you can always expect to see a calendar of like what SIG meetings are this week.
Gotcha.
Or working group meetings and stuff like that. So
cool.
Anything else? I'm cognizant of time because people have put important things in the open mic.
And that's it.
Yep. Cool. All right. GitHub management, Bob or Nikita?
One big thing. So the GitHub org cleanup, we punted just because it didn't seem like a good time to send an email to KDev, hey, we're going to be booting people out of the org. At this point in time, thinking probably the first week of July to send that notice out and update the community membership doc. Does anyone have any other thoughts or opinions on this?
+1.
Okay.
Hey, all right.
Cool.
All right, and
then
looks
Nikita,
like
do you
there's
want
a Slack channel?
Yeah, just that we have a new Slack channel for GitHub management discussions, so you could join it. I noted this down in the open mic discussion below as well. So we talking a little bit about renaming the master branch name, the default branch in general. So if you're interested in those discussions, that would be the right channel to.
All right, anything else on GitHub management? Slack infra, I'll be fast. Before I went on holiday, we had a meeting. It's really hard to have a meeting when we purposely spread everyone out over the world so that we could get Slack coverage. So that was really difficult. So I was only able to get a certain amount of moderators, but we did update the contact information. We were able to, Loic retired, and we have some do outs that we need to do. My biggest concern was code ownership of like the things that Catherine was working on. And Marky has been working with Pierre on like on-ramping them, and stuff is happening. I'll have a better update next week. Any questions on Slack? All right, contributor documentation, Bob.
Okay, a couple quick things. I've been going through the contributor guide and could really use some help just going through it and like commenting on which things are really outdated and should be removed. I found a couple things that were like still referencing all our stuff as maintainers and saying we had a 2-day turnaround time on PRs.
Ain't nobody reading that, that's for sure.
Yeah. So ideally, we at least remove that stuff either immediately or note that it should be removed. And then we also have a lot of like duplicate information scattered around the docs. So this is sort of to lead up to an eventual reorganization, rewrite of the contributor guide. And just getting all, sort of mapping out where the documentation, like which section all has the different documentation will help with that, and where the dupes can be removed.
Gotcha.
The no news on developer guide contributor site, we have a few launch list items, and one of those items is actually the contributor guide update item of going through and pruning that stuff so we can get it nice and good before going live. And that's pretty much it.
All right, next is reviewing the project board, but however,
let's skip that.
Yeah, do y'all mind if we go to just the open mic, because there's a lot of important issues I think we need to churn through here, and the board is,
That's a next week problem.
Yeah. Lauri, you've got the first two items.
Thanks. So I'll try to be quick. Basically, we've been talking about triaging a lot as a tool for SIGs to improve their workflow and improve PR velocity. So Stephen and I have been just chatting. I don't know if I'm going too early on this, but basically a working group that would be focused on triage. So we're going to have a triage party demo tomorrow at the community meeting. Triage party has a Kanban board function now, so that is really helpful for SIGs to use those Kanban boards to move work forward, and it helps with their flow. But I just wanted to bring the topic here to this group. Basically, we just want to think about how we can more officially offer coaching and support to SIGs to set up triaging processes or improve their existing processes, and then continue with a community of practice efforts to help SIGs share their insights and advice about triaging in the channel that the chairs and leads channel. And then my suggestion was to or one of the suggestions I had was about dev stats, was to could we use the dev stats in this capacity to show the pattern and trend data over time. So say a SIG starts doing triage, dev stats can help them potentially measure the impact of that. They could see their workload go down. So this is very early, but I just kind of wanted to bring it to all of you, because this is a topic that we've been talking about for some time. And then, unless there are questions, I can go to the next topic.
I have one question.
Sure.
So why does this need to be a working group? And I like, when I think of triage, I think of helping and coaching SIGs around triage. I see that as a responsibility for SIG contributor experience. So in my mind, I see this as a sub-project for ContribEx. So I think I'm losing context around why this needs to be a working group instead of a sub-project.
Yeah, so that's a good point. And I think Paris is +1ing your point. Am I right, Paris?
Yeah, I think it makes sense as a sub-project as well.
Okay.
Just because then there's real ownership to it and it's not going to go away. The working group purpose is really for it to just do a thing, produce a thing, and be done with the thing. And then the thing goes to a SIG. But I feel like if we're going to take triage seriously and we want to make it forever, we should make it a sub-project.
I think the idea with the working group was that we wanted to have some metrics and goals clearly defined around it. But there's no reason that can't be addressed in a sub-project. The second concern is just like making sure that people don't think this is SIG PM brought back. But I think that messaging, like my suggestion for that was that because it would be time boxed, and also because the way we would handle this would be like embedded in the existing SIGs. It wouldn't be like a siloed effort, that you would just have maybe an evangelist embed with the SIG, or even there's a member in the SIG who is really pro triaging, and then that can answer the question of, oh, it's a SIG PM again. But yeah, if it's a SIG sub-project of this SIG, then again, that question will be answered.
Yeah, that one's a tough
we
one.
We trust you to keep Stephen A in line.
Sorry?
Paris, go ahead.
I was just saying, my comment was just going to be go ahead and write a proposal for the working group so we can see where your thoughts were, and then we can work from there, because that would be next steps regardless. So I would just say you and Stephen just write up something, and then Nikita and Christoph and others will take a look at it and determine if it should be a sub-project or a working group.
Yeah, I've already written a few lines. I kept it really short because I don't want to make a lot of documentation for people. So I could just send that to, where do you suggest I just share that?
Share it with the contributor experience mailing list.
Okay. I'll clear it with him as well, and just make sure that him being Stephen, just make sure he's okay with that, and then I can do that.
The other thing too is that you can, talk to him about it, but because you've reached out to like the release team and everything, can potentially CC them and get some of the other groups involved there to give it a look over.
Yeah, or at least give it feedback.
Cool.
I just want to say that I love the idea about using dev stats and actually using that to drive change for triage. So that's awesome.
Thank you. I'll put that as well as a note.
Also, Lauri, we're trusting you to keep Stephen focused. Tell him I said that.
He was recruiting me for all sorts of things yesterday, and I was like, I would just like to get some sleep.
If he gets too SIG PM, you could just like poke him a little bit. Like, okay, cool.
Well, yeah, I think he's quite conscious of bringing that back. So it's like, oh no, don't bring it back.
That is a 3-year conversation I've been having with him.
Yeah, let's not start it again.
All right. Anything else then? Do you want to talk about this enhancements cuddle?
Oh yeah. Well, I just also wanted to give up the update on the release team breakouts. So I concluded the breakout sessions, and these were basically for the release team members to have very small groups, a very small group setting, so they could discuss all the many items that I found related to process improvements. So, GitHub issues, existing documentation, whatever was like triggering process for the release team related to the release cycle. And the idea is being, how can we clear the happy path for the release cycle to make it as frictionless as possible? So whatever your status, if you're a new member or shadow, you come to the release team, what are the friction points that make it hard for you to like figure out what's going on? So we talked a lot about those issues in these breakouts. So a lot of discussion around simplifying documentation. Then there was the work that Jeremy's doing on this tool to make the enhancements component less manual, bringing transparency to the enhancement process overall. So yeah, I guess I've just subsumed the kept control or kept CTL. We're not sure what the canonical use of it is yet, bringing that into this conversation. So the discussion sessions were really fun. Like, I was amazed. We finished them and usually with 10 minutes early. And if you're talking about 90 items of discussion, that's pretty impressive. People were using these sessions as opportunities to kind of gain clarity on existing issues, long-standing issues, raise concerns that they'd seen in this cycle and over the past cycles that they'd been a part of. So it felt really gluey, you know.
I can say as being in on some of them, they were definitely appreciated, and people did get a lot out of them.
Yeah, and for me as a facilitator, it was super fun to just have everybody come and be like full of ideas and goodwill and get down to business. And so the next step is that I need to review the content of the spreadsheet. If you don't, I'll share the link with all of you so that you just know what I'm talking about. You probably already do, but
can you link it in the doc itself?
See you, Josh.
Or in
oh,
the,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But basically, here, I'll put prioritization, breakout sessions. So basically, yeah, the next step is to summarize those notes and try to understand some of the patterns, the points of consolidation, because we had a lot of overlapping items, and then simplify all of that content into themes of work that will then kind of be like, you could think of them as products, and then like, how would we break down this product work into user stories so that we can actually get things done in shorter periods of time than maybe, you know, some of these items would have suggested or only enabled in the past. Because some of them are big, some of them are not so big, some of them we could just template.
How many of, I'm cognizant of time here, so I don't want to take up too much. How genericized is this? Like, is this something you could copy and paste to another SIG who's like, hey, I like what you did for SIG release. We kind of need some of this.
Some of this is. So what we didn't actually do, but Tim Pepper had wanted us to do, I think we need to sit down and what are the items that release team members actually have to do? Right. And then what are the items that other SIGs need to do? That step kind of got sidestepped, but it would really help kind of focus the workload for release team members. And then one of the columns, if you go into the spreadsheet, you'll notice that the first column is like, what is the area of release team work? And so those are basically, like, I created a little scroll down. So the items are thematized. And obviously some of these items span a couple themes, but what is the intent behind the item? Is it to improve documentation on behalf of enhancements? How intrinsic is it to the actual enhancements process? I tried to do a good read on the item's spirit and intent, but those can obviously be shifted. But then, you know, they're already kind of categorized. So that means that like CI Signal can just go off and take their few items and decide like, well, how do we want to improve our process? And then the KEPs, that's a big topic. And we have a KEPs meeting that's being scheduled or doodle polled at the moment. Yeah. So then, you know, you can triage that topic into that meeting.
Okay. All right. Any last questions? We have 12 minutes and 3 more topics. We can do this. We good? Okay. Nikita.
Yeah, I'll keep this quick. So just an FYI, the SIG Contributor Experience is sponsoring the request for creating a new working group around inclusive naming. You've probably already heard of this. Stephen, Augustus, Zach, and Celeste would be leading this. The Kubernetes dev mailing list thread is linked in the doc, and you can find out all the details there. There is a SIG architecture meeting tomorrow that will be covering discussion around some of these topics. You can join that if you're interested. And there is some discussion around renaming the the default master branch for all repos that's happening in the GitHub management Slack on Slack, so you can check that out. That's it.
One actually quick comment on that. The GitHub itself is very aware of all the of this, and there's a lot of stuff going on there that will likely be bubbling up soon. And a lot of people are sort of all over the OSS community is sort of discovering different edge cases. If we can gather all those things, just so that we have knowledge of that ourselves, that'd be great. Dumping them in Slack and then see what's going to, I think, create an issue later in K community to sort of get this thing. So if you see anything, please put that stuff there.
Yep.
Quick question, Bob. Do you know if, like, since you're in touch with GitHub folks, is there something formal or an issue internally between?
So there's one in the OS maintainers group, the one that I think the entire GitHub admin team has access to. There isn't one in the cohort that's just Ihor and I, at least to my knowledge. But.
Cool. Moving on, the next issue, it's kind of solved, but I'll just go about it. The issue is about moving the SIG leads mailing list. I think right now it's pretty manual, and someone needs to add folks manually to the, I don't know what it is, like a Google group. But we want to move it to G Suite, so we'll move all of the accounts to a YAML file in the kh.io repo. Paris sent me everything on Slack, and Paris, I'll take out the next steps on this and I'll create the PR. And yeah, that's about it.
Can you, am I assigned on that issue? I need to grab the notes again.
I am not, but if you need help.
Yeah, I think if you could assign both George and I, that would be great.
I'll do that.
I've redone my entire dedicated GitHub time.
Or do you mean on like the PR or both?
Oh, there's sorry, here.
Like the PR hasn't been created yet. I just got the
Yeah, sorry. No, so I was thinking the issue to create the PR.
Yeah, I was just gonna go ahead and create the PR. Okay, you mean the issue that's linked in the meeting notes?
Yeah, 4673, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, sorry, my bad. Brain fart. Looked over it and.
Yeah, it's okay.
Worse. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, and last is going to be Paris. This is probably you, contributor strategy?
Yeah, something that's not necessarily relevant to this group, but I'm going to plug selfishly anyway.
It's a same audience kind of.
Yes, it's kind of the same audience, but if y'all have other friends, family, or coworkers that work on CNCF projects, we formed this group called Contributor Strategy to help the TOC with evaluating projects that are going through their project lifecycle with contributor-related matters. So we're talking about governance, diversity of maintainers, et cetera, all of the above. And we're also helping out and being consultative with the projects as well. And then we're also going to be forming a maintainer circle. And the maintainer circle is just a space where CNCF maintainers can hang out. That's really it. But we're definitely looking for help, looking for more folks to join us. And that's it.
All right, cool. All right. We have 7 minutes left, but we can break early, of course. Oh my God, I just spilled pop all over my desk. Any last items before we go? Just a reminder, community meeting is tomorrow. So Lauri, break a leg. Everything is looking good. Some
Thanks.
Good updates. Anybody else have anything? All right. And with that, we'll see everyone hopefully tomorrow. And if not, next week. Thanks. I'll give you 6 minutes back.
Thanks everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.